Hello, and welcome, my friends, to the next video in the Create Better Content series, where I show you how to tap into your creativity so that you can stay consistent with your marketing to reach more customers. My name is Penny, and I'm going to be your guide through this content development process. I want to teach you how to create engaging content to post, social media posts, remarkable content on your sales pages, email sequences, all of those things that we talk about with content that you use to help you reach your customers. And if you want to learn more about creativity and how this can help you develop your content marketing plans, I would love to see you hit that button below and subscribe to this channel. And below in the description box, there are several links. One of the links that you're going to see is for the Content Calendar Blueprint program. This is my email-based training. It's a guide that's going to help you develop your content calendar and develop the strategy and the content that's going to go into your content calendar. And another link that you're going to see is that you can join us in the Marketing Strategy Collective program. This is my group program that we get together on Patreon. And in this group program, you get interactive strategy workbooks. You get monthly Zoom sessions. You have an opportunity to get help throughout the month in the Patreon group. And we're here together to help you in a supportive group online space to make sure that you can get the help that you need with your marketing strategy. So you see the links below and you know what to do to learn more. All right, let's jump in for today's video, because I want to talk about something. There's a lot of people out there who feel like they're just putting out so much content every single day, every single week, and just getting so little back in return. And if you find yourself in this space, if you find yourself feeling like this episode is going to be the one that you want to listen to. Because here's the thing I want to focus on today. It's not always about just what you post. It also is connected to where you're posting. So let's dig into this idea today. Let's talk about this. I want to talk about the idea of where you post and why this matters so much. Because if we look at each platform, and I mean all the platforms, I'm talking about social media, I'm talking about your sales pages, I'm talking about your email sequences, all of those things that you use on your marketing, every single one of these platforms has its own like personality, has its own rhythm, has its own, algorithm about it. And when you learn how to match your content to this platform, that's when your message actually starts to connect with people and resonate, and people engage, and you build trust. And yes, when you put those things together, that's what helps you make more sales. So let's talk about this today, about what do I mean by the best places, and especially when it comes to repurposing your content. It's one thing to think about where you're posting to choose, but when we start going through this process of repurposing and we start thinking about how we're going to share a piece of content, it is so important that we choose the right platforms for our business, and also what we should not be doing, because maybe it's just going to be wasting our time and we are not repurposing our content in the best way that we can on the platform that we're using. So let's start right here with this idea about repurposing. And the biggest thing I want you to know when it comes to repurposing is not about you copying and pasting the same caption across 5 different platforms and saying, whoop, there we go, I've posted today, I've repurposed, because that's not repurposing. That is just a copy and a paste. That is reposting. And I'm telling you right now, any social media platform that you are just reposting to, using the same copy, pasting the same image where you've used everything else, it's not going to work, because that's the difference between each one of these platforms. You want to make sure that when you are repurposing, you're not just sharing that message again. You are adapting your content so it fits. It fits onto the platform where you're going to be going. If we think about it from this place, think about, the weather. If we think about the weather and how we like to dress for the weather, you wouldn't wear a big heavy coat to the beach right? Well, the same thing about when we think about when we're posting on other, other sites. It's the same thing. It's like, we want to make sure that what we're doing, what we're dressing, how we look, how we show up, what works for the location and where we are going to be sharing that marketing message. Because when you tailor your message, when you tailor it to like the environment, you think about, what's going on around you, the where. And when we make sure that we've adapted it and we make sure that what we've done is we've shared our messaging with this, I'm trying to say this clearly. Let me start that sentence over again. So when you're tailing your message to where you're showing up, it resonates more and it's going to get better engagement. And ultimately, that's what we're looking for, because that way we are connecting with more people. We're going to get them to take action, and we're going to get them to go back to our website and to look at our core offers and make more sales. So let me break this down for you. So if we think about the different platforms out there, what works where? I want to talk about the content that works best for each one of these and how you can repurpose your content for each one of these spaces. So let's talk about Instagram. Instagram loves visuals and short form videos, all of those reels that they do. So the best thing that you can do is repurpose. You can do tips. You can do amazing tips on those short form videos, how-tos, behind the scenes, personal stories. All of that stuff comes across really well, and it's really good to connect with your community in that way. But what we don't want to do on Instagram is we are not looking for long-winded copy with no call to action, with no, hook to get somebody in there. Instagram is not this place where we're going to be scrolling and we're going to be reading. Because if we read that first line and it's not connecting with us, that's the hook I'm talking about, it's just going to get lost and we're just going to keep going. We're going to keep going. So we want to think about Instagram in a visual way. So if we were to take a blog post or a podcast, we wouldn't just copy and paste the video episode from the podcast or the blog post into the caption. We would want to edit it down into smaller bite-sized pieces and visual. So we would put like a 3-slide carousel of 3 things I didn't know about this topic, or we could create a 30-second tip reel. What we want to do is we want to take that blog post or that podcast and make sure that we put it in to Instagram's visuals and short form video, the way that the platform works. All right, let's do this for another one. Let's talk about LinkedIn. So LinkedIn's another great space for everybody to be using, especially if you're a small business owner, because one of the things that LinkedIn does really well is it thrives on that business to business connection. It thrives on the value that we could give them, educational value, professional insights, all of those kinds of things. And if you're looking to repurpose on LinkedIn, you want to think about it from that space of, lessons learned, case studies, and storytelling is really, really strong there on LinkedIn. And when it comes to what we want to avoid, we don't want to use overly personal posts. Now, I see a lot of people doing personal posts on LinkedIn, a lot lately. It seems like the last couple of years I've been seeing an awful lot lately. But the thing about those personal posts are, if you'll really take a look at it and you read all the way through it, and you can even see within the comments that particular post, if they're sharing a personal story, they find a way to tie it back into the takeaway. Maybe the takeaway is, this is the lesson that I learned. Maybe the takeaway is, and that's why I started this program. Maybe the takeaway is, and that's why you need to watch this video. You want to make sure that if you are going to be sharing something personal on LinkedIn, that you create that link, that LinkedIn, that link to what it is your business is doing, because this is not us talking about ourselves personally on LinkedIn. So if we take that point of view from our blog post, what we would do then is, instead of just copying and pasting the whole blog post, we want to do something like, here's what I've learned after 10 years of X, Y, and Z, with a call to action in the comments. Those are the kinds of things that we would do on LinkedIn to repurpose it. All right, let's look at another platform. Let's look at Pinterest. Let's talk about Pinterest for a little bit, because Pinterest is always a great space for you to repurpose your content. Because Pinterest, though a lot of people will think that it's a social media platform, it is not a social media platform. It is a search engine, and it is based on keywords, and it is based on people looking for things. So if we think about it from that place, your blog is going to be amazing on your podcast and your blog and all of those kinds of things. Your lead magnets, your email freebies, your evergreen how-to guides, all of those things are going to do amazing on Pinterest. But the thing we want to keep in mind here with regards to Pinterest is this is not the space where you think that you're going to go viral on that. If you get lucky and that you've got a pin that generated some interest, that's amazing. That is, just the cherry on top of the ice cream, so to speak, the Pinterest ice cream. But really, Pinterest is about being consistent and having that visual clarity. So when we repurpose our content on Pinterest, it's more about how we're going to create those pins, which are the graphic images that we use. How would we create those pins? And Canva is a great space for you to take a look at how you can create pins like this. They have an amazing number of templates, even on their free program, so you don't even have to pay for this. So what you're going to be doing with repurposing, it's about creating more of these graphics. It's creating more of these images that are going to connect with people. So when we repurpose it, we want to make sure that we're using strong keywords in our pin title and description, and it gets linked back to the blog post, or it gets linked back to the email freebie. It gets linked back to the podcast and all of those things. But Pinterest gives us another opportunity to reach more people in a different way. So this is all about the visual when it comes to Pinterest. Well, let's talk. Then that brings me to YouTube. So I want to talk about that too. So if Pinterest is about the visuals and the images, YouTube is going to be more about the audio and as well as that video. Because when we think about YouTube, or let's just say podcasts in general, because I would say that podcasts and YouTube are pretty much on that same type of plane, because both of these give us the opportunity to do long form content. That's a great way of calling it. So it's more than just your 15-second reel. It's more than just, a YouTube Shorts. I'm talking about something that you're watching right now, that you're listening to right now. This is long form content. I am talking for more than 2 minutes. And so what happens is you have the ability to talk more and to share more and to teach more and to provide that educational value, to have the conversations on the podcast. All of these things build trust and showcase your voice, as well as I don't want to say how you're teaching it, but your voice as well as your perspective on this particular topic. And so you're able to go into really, go into more detail when you have the time to do long form content like that. So let's say you were going to take that blog post and repurpose this into a YouTube video. You could utilize YouTube to do some sort of, frequently asked questions about this topic. You could use YouTube to create mini trainings about this topic. You could do detailed how-to tutorials, with this kind of topic. So if we think about it from that place, we look at YouTube as this opportunity to actually upload some content, but we do it more with a strategy and understanding what's the call to action that we want to get out of these YouTube videos, or the podcast for that matter. And we don't just treat it like, okay, I'm just going to put my stuff up there and say that I've been posting. It's a show. It's a consistency. We are talking to our community like this. We're sharing this information, this topic, whatever this may be. And we're turning our engaging, blog posts into, the script for the video that we're going to be doing today, or the podcast episode. So we could repurpose that topic from a blog post and turn it into a YouTube video or a podcast from that perspective. So there's ways that we can do this, but we're more concerned about the the voice, the audio, but if we are doing a video for the how-to, then we get more into the visuals of it, and how we're going to be taking them through the steps. Is it, like, are we doing like a slideshow? Or are we doing something like there's a camera there and we're watching step by step by step of us doing something? So it's something to think about when you are going to be converting your blog post into a YouTube video or a podcast episode. All right, let me do one more platform here. Let's talk about email, because I do think that email is one of those things that's really important for our marketing. And sometimes I think it gets kind of, I don't want to say ignored, but it just kind of gets pushed down on the list when it comes to marketing. And I think this is one of our best tools for relationship building is email. So you don't want to leave email out of your options for repurposing your content. And when we repurpose our content in email, it's going to be based around more storytelling, more like a mini blog, so to speak. So if we were to take that blog post, we don't repurpose it like we do in social media, because emails are personal. Emails are very one-to-one. We've been given permission to drop into somebody's email box, into their inbox. So we want to feel like this is a conversation that we're having one-on-one with somebody versus something that's in the social media feed. So when we think about it from that place, we can repurpose our blog posts. We can repurpose some of our, even some of our high-performing social media posts. We can repurpose them and expand the story for the people in your community with a little extra, little extra context, or maybe some behind-the-scenes kind of things that you didn't share in your social media posts or your blog post or something, whatever it is that you're repurposing on your email. But think about it from that place. Think about how you can take and repurpose that content into your email and adding to it, and adding to more of creating a conversation between yourself and the person that is opening up that email. So here's one thing I want you to think about as you're going through this whole repurposing ideas and thinking about how you yourself can develop a repurposing strategy. I want you to understand this. Even though I've just gone through all of these ideas and these suggestions, and I've been doing this whole month talking about repurposing content, I want you to understand that it is not my intention to tell you that you need to be on every single one of these platforms, including platforms that I didn't even bring up, like Twitter, like Facebook, like TikTok. There's all these other platforms that are out there. You don't have to be on every single one of these platforms. That's not how repurposing works. That's not a strategy. And actually what that does is like content burnout just waiting to happen. So if you try to be everywhere, you end up showing up, barely showing up in too many places instead of showing up fully where it matters. So when you start to think about where you're going to be repurposing your content, I want you to start with these ideas of asking yourself, where are my community hanging out? Where are my customers most active? And then ask yourself, do these platforms that they're hanging out and they're spending time in, does this feel a natural space for me to create on? Is this a place where I feel comfortable, that I know that I can show up consistently? And if it's not, what could I do to incorporate what my strengths and skills are into creating this type of content? And then from that space, I want you to take a look at everything that you're doing, and that includes your email marketing, and to see what's driving traffic and sales, not just likes. Because when we actually kind of pinpoint the answers to those questions that I just asked you, that allows you to start repurposing with a purpose. It allows you to focus on 2, maybe 3 key places and spaces and do it really, really well. So instead of you just chasing the next, hot, shiny thing out there, or trying to deal with the algorithm or fight the algorithm for that matter, I want you to think about how you can build more of a repurposing system that makes your content work smarter for you, and you don't have to keep working harder. So I want you to think about that. choose the content that you want to repurpose. Then you match that message to the right platforms, and not just the message, match the visuals, match the audio, match the amount of copy. You must show up in the way that the platform needs you to show up. And then from there, once you get that in place, it allows you to start to create a repeatable plan, something that you can do every single week. And when you start to build this into your repeatable plan, it allows you to keep your content consistent and allows you to keep showing up with value. And it allows you to simplify your marketing and make every piece of your content count. So you've already done all the hard work by creating all of that content that's already engaging people. Start to look towards a repurposing strategy like I've described here in today's video, and you'll find a way to make that content go further and reach more customers. So thank you so much for joining me today. If this episode helped you look at your marketing differently, I would love to see you give it a like and then hit the share button so that a fellow business owner can get hold of this information. And I want to make sure that you are subscribed to this channel and you don't miss out on what's coming up next. And if you want some more step-by-step help with this process, I'm actually focusing this month in the Marketing Strategy Collective Workbook. We are talking about repurposing. It is packed with tools and prompts to guide you through how you can develop your own repurposing content strategy. So if you want to be a part of the collective, we would love to see you join us. We are working through exactly how you can set up this repurposing strategy. We can show you how to develop your own repeatable system that's going to save your sanity, and you can stop working in a solo bubble and learn what happens when you work in a collaborative space to get the help that you need. And you see the link below, and you know what to do to learn more, because you are magnificent, my friend. And let me be the first to say, I'm proud of you. Until next time.